everyone and welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Rachel Adna, and for this week's video I'm coming at y'all with an autumn fall. Let's go back. This week I'm coming at you guys with a full meal prep, autumn meal prep within the UK, America, fall, autumn, same thing. October's coming. So for this video, I wanted to share some really simple, delicious recipes that you can use as a meal prep this fall, which means they're also going to be hearty because autumn is here and it gets a little bit more cold. Well, at least it does in the UK. Obviously, it depends where you live, but that's what I'm sharing with you today, and I've done it again. Please give this video a thumbs up if you're excited for the full recipes. Don't forget to subscribe because I'm here every week with new videos to share with you guys. And also, if you haven't already checked out my book, Rachel Adna's Vegan Eat, I'm gonna leave a link down below. It has over 100 of my recipes. There's African, Caribbean, standard, easy, more complicated, loads of food in there. Check it out if you wanna see more of my recipes with full methods and full recipe lists. Check it out. But for now, I'm going to share with you 3 simple, delicious recipes. We have a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner. And I'm doing this for maximum 4 days. You don't want to take it further than that because the food might start to turn a little bit and it won't be as fresh and as nutrient rich. So 4-day meal prep. Let's start with breakfast. The breakfast is inspired by an apple crumble, except we're not going to add loads of sugar to it. We're not going to add flour. It's kind of like a granola berry apple mix with chia seeds, some coconut yogurt, and it just comes together really nice. It's autumny because we're using apples and cinnamon, and it's very delicious. So let's get into that recipe. Stop it. Wow. I've got a combination of different nuts. These are my favorites. I've got walnuts, almonds, hazelnuts, and pecans, but use whatever ones you really like to use. I've also got some apples. Apples are in season right now. I've got some frozen berries. Frozen berries are just easier to use because you don't have to worry about fresh berries going off. So I always have some in the freezer so I can add them to anything. Then I've got some fresh cinnamon and cinnamon sticks as well, just because I didn't have enough ground cinnamon. And then finally some oats. Oats are your staple breakfast, your slow burning carbs. So good for the proteins and fibers and lots of good nutrients. So the first thing I'm going to do is ground the almonds. The almonds are a little tougher and you need a high-speed blender for this so that you can break them down. All these gorgeous almonds. So I'm just going to put them in the blender, give them a quick blitz, and then I'm going to add the rest of the nuts, give it a good shake, a good mix, a pulse. You don't want to break it down too much because then you get like nut butter, and that's not what we want. We want them broken down just like this. So you still get that good crunch. And they're so delicious. Now we're just going to add in our oats to this, followed by some cinnamon. Like I said, I'm adding a little bit of cinnamon. I would add more if I had more ground cinnamon on me, but go cinnamon crazy if cinnamon is your thing. Then I'm adding in some coconut oil. This is melted coconut oil, and a bit of maple syrup. Now I've added about 1 to 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and you just want to mix that all together, get it all combined. You don't want to add too much oil because obviously the nuts are full of those natural oils. It's just going to help it not stick in the pan, and it's also going to help it combine very slightly. Sprinkling in some sea salt. Now with the berries, I'm just going to add them to a pot of fresh antioxidants and get my apples prepared. So I've got these really crispy, delicious apples. Give them a good wash because I picked them up today and they're fresh. Then I'm gonna cut them up. Now I've decided to slice these just because I feel like slicing today, but you can cut these however you wanna cut your apples. I literally keep munching on these right now because they're so good. Maybe it's been a long time since I've had an apple, I don't know, but I'm enjoying these. Then I'm adding the apples straight in with the berries, and we're going to put this on a low heat so we can start to cook it. I'm going in with about 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, but add as much as you like. Then I'm going to mix that all together, get it all combined. As you can see, it's a little bit tough at this point, but once it starts cooking, it'll start relaxing and it will soften up. Now, a little tip so you can make more of a sauce is to add in some water. So I'm going to add in a pinch of water, followed by some flour. You could use corn flour as well, and this will give you a sauce, and the flour will make it kind of thicken up slightly. You don't have to add the flour, it's optional if you want to, or the cornstarch or corn flour, or just add some water. I love those rich colors. I'm gonna pop the lid on, and let that cook until the apples start to soften up. As you can see, the apples are now all floppy and delicious. You have a really rich sauce in there too. You can taste at this point to see if you want to sweeten it up. Because it's breakfast, I don't really want to make it really sweet. I want it to stay a little bit bitter. Now I'm also going to add in some chia seeds. They are packed full of omega-3s. I add them to everything. I love them. So I'm going to add in about a tablespoon, and this is also going to thicken it up and just give you some more nutrients into your food. And we're just mixing it in. Get it all in there. I mean, tell me this doesn't look delicious. Now I'm going to add on our nut and oat mix. If you do quite a thick layer, the top bit will crisp up, but the underneath won't. But that's fine with me right now because I just like all the flavors. And you just want to put it in the oven. My oven's about 200 degrees C fan. I am in the UK, so it is Celsius. And my oven is quite a beast. I love it. Now, if you want to get it more crispy, you can lay out the oats and the nuts on a single layer, just like this. You want to lay it out flat. Put that in the oven, keep an eye on it, and that way they will roast and crisp up more than adding it in like we are with the berries. You got options, sweetie. Now that it's been in for about 15 minutes, and you need to keep an eye on it because you don't want it to burn, the top has browned up just how we want to. The inside has cooked even more, and it's like a crumble, but it ain't a crumble. So now I'm just getting it in the bowl. I know it looks like a crumble, I know, but we used barely any sweeteners, barely any maple syrup. It's really delicious. Now to serve, I've got some natural coconut yogurt, added some more fresh fruits like apples, strawberries, raspberries. I also added some sunflower seeds because I had that. And this is your breakfast, and we made enough to make a meal prep breakfast. You could also add a little bit of maple syrup on top if you want to, depending on your sweet tooth, depending on your preference, and you take it to work just like this. Take it to school, take it to uni, take it wherever you need to take it. I'm doing mini taste tests myself just because I'm actually meal prepping these, so I want to save these for meal prep. But first we have our breakfast. Oh, that is so good. We've just used oats. Oats are slow burning carbs, so they keep you full for longer. We've added our favorite nuts, which are packed full of protein and good fats. If you want to reduce the amount of nuts, feel free, do it to however you want to do it. The berries are your antioxidants, and they complement the apple with a little bit of maple, so they're not really sweet, but just really nice. And there's so much sauce, and we added the chia seeds so we get those omegas. I eat chia seeds like every day. They're one of the things that immediately made my digestive system amazing. Literally, chia seeds, ride or die. My guys, love them. But this is so, so good. You can use a store-bought granola if you prefer, but when you make it yourself, you just control what's in it. You control how much sweetness you add in it, how much oil you add in it, and just make it to your taste preference. Very simple. This is really good. This is great. This is your autumn bread. Wow. And this is nice cold. Like, you don't need to heat this up. You can literally bring it out the fridge, eat it cold. So the second recipe I'm going to share is a really quick, simple stir fry. Now you can add any vegetables you have left over in the fridge. I'm doing this on my Instagram lately where I'm just sharing with you how to make meals over your leftovers. So whether it's half a carrot, a quarter of a courgette, whatever's left, let's use it. Let's reduce our food waste and save our pennies by using what's in the fridge. I'm going to share it with you with the ingredients that I have in the fridge, but feel free to add whatever you have at home straight in the stir fry. Let's get into this recipe. So I've got some bean sprouts, carrots, green onions, spring onions, some chilies, red peppers, onion, garlic, lime, some sugar snaps, and some rice noodles. Those are the main ingredients to make a really quick stir fry. First things first with any stir fry is the chopping part. Now I am chopping some of my sugar snaps open just to create some more textures, but you don't have to do this. This is just me. Then I've got my red onion. I'm gonna cut that in half, take off the skin, and then I'm gonna finely slice it. Then I've got my red pepper, which I'm also just gonna finely slice. With my carrots, I'm just gonna peel it, and you can cut up your carrots, grate your carrots, however you like to do it for a stir fry. I like to cut them up into these tiny little thin slices. With my spring onions, I'm just gonna chop these up, and I'm gonna save some fresh to garnish and save to add. Then with my garlic, I'm just squashing it chopping it up roughly. Nothing needs to be perfect when you're chopping up vegetables for a stir fry. Got my chilies, gonna finely slice them. I wanted it kind of hot today, so we're keeping in the seeds. Add as many chilies as you like. Now for a sauce, I've got some chickpea miso paste, which is fermented chickpeas. You could use regular miso paste. I've got some water, maple syrup, soy sauce, and some white rice vinegar. I will leave in the description bar the exact measurements I use to make this really quick and simple sauce. Then you want to mix it together, let it combine. Now with the rice noodles, you just want to cook it following the package instruction. I'm adding my rice noodles to some hot water, pop the lid on top, and you want to undercook it. I can't stress that enough. You don't want soggy rice noodles. So once they've cooked, I rinse them under some cold water so they stop cooking. And as you can see, they're not breaking apart right here. If they're breaking apart, you've overcooked them. And for this, you really don't want to overcook them. You're better under than over. Now to begin to stir fry, I've got some coconut oil in the pan. If you don't cook with oil, don't add oil. I'm adding in my garlic and my chilies first, and I'm gonna let those cook out. Then I'm adding in the rest of the vegetables, the onions, mix it all together. And we're doing this on a high heat because we're stir frying today. Mix it all together. And then I'm gonna add in all the carrots and the peppers, the beans, mix it. It's very colorful, very vibrant. Look at this. And add anything you have left in the fridge. Now with my bean sprouts, I personally like to blitz them into hot water very quickly before I cook with them. And once I've done that, I'm just gonna add my rice noodles that are very slightly undercooked into the pan with the vegetables. Now I'm pouring in that sauce, get it all in there. On a high heat, we're mixing it all together. Ah, look at this colorful, vibrant, simple stir fry. Now you can use a store-bought sauce if you prefer. When you make your own, you know exactly how many sugars, how much oil, how much everything is in there. But if you have a favorite store-bought one, you can totally do that. So I've prepped it in my lunchbox again. I've just added the bean sprouts on the side. I topped with some coriander, spring onions, added some lime, and your really quick and easy, delicious noodle dish. Taste test the stir fry. Now I was actually gonna do a peanut stir fry. I was just mindful that for breakfast we used a lot of nuts. So I was like, let's not go nut crazy. But if you wanna go nut crazy, add some cashew nut butter or almond butter or peanut butter to this, and it's one of my favorite things to make. But equally, it is still good without. So good. My tips are, you hear that crunch. You want to keep the vegetables crunchy, especially if you are going to reheat it later. So if anything, slightly undercook the rice noodles and slightly undercook your vegetables. You get that nice heat from the chili. The miso adds that umami, salty, savory flavor to it. So good. And again, you can eat this cold. You don't have to heat this up. What I will say is be careful with the bean sprouts because they go bad really, really quickly. So make sure you store them correctly. Don't have them sitting out all day because they won't. That's not the best idea of bean sprouts. And if you're nervous about that, just don't add the bean sprouts. Simple. So the final recipe, I couldn't help but bring some squash. Squash is so autumny, so we're gonna make a really delicious chickpea squash curry with coconut milk, and it's gonna be very hearty and delicious. And to go with it, I'm gonna roast some broccoli and greens because you gotta have your greens. I personally love roasted broccoli. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. So that's gonna go alongside it. Very simple and very delicious. So let's get into the final recipe. I've got this spice mix, which I'm gonna leave down below. I've got things like turmeric, ground cumin, ground coriander, fenugreek. Then I've got some ginger and some garlic. This courgette, which I just had left in the house. It wasn't actually part of it, but I'm trying to use up more of the fruits and vegetables that are on the way out. And that's one of them. Then I've got squash, red onion, chickpeas, tomatoes, and then I've got my greens, kale, and broccoli, which I'm gonna roast in some garlic and lemon and salt and pepper, which is gonna be so good. And I'm just gonna chop it into small slices. Nice and fine, but chop them how you like to chop them. Then to a pan, I'm going to heat up some oil. If you don't want to cook in oil, saute in water, like I always say. I'm adding in my red onions, giving it a good mix, and then I've got some garlic. Now I like to go garlic heavy, so I'm using 4 to 5 to 6 cloves of garlic, pushing them down, chopping them up, roughly chopping, Gonna throw that in with the onions and cook those too. And as you can see, the onions are starting to brown and slightly caramelize. Then I'm gonna grate in my ginger. Now you can chop up your ginger. I don't mind chunks of ginger, so I'm just gonna roughly grate it in. Then I'm gonna add my seasoning mix, throw it all in there. And we're gonna saute that with the red onions and the garlic. A quick tip, if it does start to stick to the pan, you can add some more oil, or you can just get a little splash of water, just like this, pour it in, and it helps loosen everything out so it doesn't stick to the pan. Now I'm gonna leave that to cook on a low heat while I prep my squash. First things first, I'm chopping this bad boy in half. These can be quite tricky. Then I'm gonna peel the skin, the outer layer, get that all off. I'm gonna try and get these into small chunks. Now the big part is where the seeds are gonna be inside. Now some people do use the seeds, they roast them, add them to salads, so do what you like to do, reuse them however you like to reuse them. So you want the chunks to be similar in size, just so that they cook around the same time. Then I'm gonna get my chunks and I'm gonna add them straight in with the onions, the garlic and the ginger. So my courgette, I'm just gonna roughly chop that up into little half moon pieces. And I don't know why, but I've clearly made the mistake of the wrong size pan. I made this the other day in this exact pan, but today is not happening. It's not happening. Anyway, I've got my big pot. I'm gonna transfer what we've already made into my big bad boy pot. Now, if you find that you've got some of the seasoning left on the old pot, just add a little bit of water, pick up the juices, pick up the seasoning, and we're gonna pour it straight into the big pot, just so we don't lose some of that flavor that we was already building in the other pot. Now I'm gonna add in my courgettes, and you can add whatever you like, any veggies. Then I'm adding some chickpeas for that protein, and these are already cooked, so you don't have to worry about cooking them. Just throw them straight in. Then some tomatoes, some tin tomatoes. You could use fresh tomatoes, a pinch of salt and vegetable stock. I will leave the exact measurement of everything I put in down below so you can make it. And this is gonna taste so good. Now you wanna turn up the heat, bring it to a boil, then reduce the heat. If you wanna cook it quickly, pop a lid on top. Now to prep the greens, I'm just gonna cut up the broccoli into small pieces, and I'm gonna put that into a baking tray. Then I'm also gonna get some kale that I washed, and I'm gonna throw that in there too. Now I'm gonna season with a bit of salt, pepper, and olive oil. If you don't cook with oil, don't add the oil. If you don't cook with salt, don't add the salt. I like to cook with oil and salt and pepper, so that is what I'm adding in there. You can also add in some garlic granules, some fresh garlic, some lemon juice, and massage it all together. Now I'm gonna put this in the oven to roast it, but you can just prep it. Then the day you eat your meal prep is when you reheat the broccoli and the kale. So it's completely up to you and what's more convenient to you. And now we've got this really thick, delicious curry that is already full of flavor and just gorgeous. And our kale and broccoli has roasted up perfectly. It's still got a bit of a bite to it. Now we've got the lunchbox, I'm just gonna plate it up. So I'm gonna add loads and loads of the curry. If you wanna add rice to this too, you can. I felt like keeping it really simple and just having the curry with some broccoli and kale, but you can add rice if you wanna add rice. Then I'm just gonna top with some fresh coriander, salt and black pepper, and some extra chili flakes. Last but not least, the curry. Very nice. It's really rich. That coconut milk makes it so rich. And the squash keeps it really light and tasty. If you wanna add more to it, use sweet potatoes, as they're heavier, they're richer, they'll keep you fuller for longer, but also you can use squash. It's just a little bit more lighter. What I love about curries is I personally feel like the next day is when it tastes best, because the seasoning has had time to sit together and really just make it all really flavorful. So this is great for meal prepping. But adjust these recipes to your preference. These are just to help inspire and give some inspiration as to what you can use for meal prepping. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video and all the recipes in it. I'll leave the recipes down below in exact quantity so you can make this meal prep if you want to make it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy the recipes, and subscribe, because I'm here every week with new videos to share with you guys. As I said earlier, check out my book, Rachel Alma's Vegan Eats, if you want to see more of my recipes with all the measurements, over 100 very delicious recipes. I'll leave it all down below. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next week. Who wants to guess my star sign? Should I do a prize for anyone who gets it right? It's coming. If you can guess the star sign, and if the date is like 5 away or 5 before, some kind of prize or some shout out. Just anyone on there that thinks they've clocked me. I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. And also let me know in the comments what kind of videos you'd love to see, because I love hearing from you guys. That way I actually make content that you want to see and is helpful and inspiring. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next week.